Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Tonight we zero in on art and culture as a vehicle for job creation and economic development. Now the various aspects of art and culture will manifest in our discussion, but one aspect ended just a few hours ago. The just concluded Abuja Carnival tagged the creative industry pivot to economic growth, many say, has taken steps towards innovations and packages in making Nigeria a preferred tourism destination for wealth creation and employment. Now, analysts hold the view that Nigeria has so much to offer the world, and that includes its unique history. So the question is, how can the country employ the creative industry to generate jobs and promote economic development? Now, what about a calendar for the promotion of arts and crafts for job creation? Now, these are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Elizabeth Banu.
Breathtaking views, fascinating culture, arts and craft, exotic discoveries and wildlife, Nigeria is a kaleidoscope of exciting scenery and people, with over 250 ethnic communities and 70 ascertained tourist destinations spread across the country. Nigeria's unity in diversity is demonstrated in festivals such as the African Arts and Craft Expo, Abuja Carnival, Argungu Fishing Festival, Eyo Festival, Calabar Carnival, as well as the Ofala Festival. At these festivals, Nigeria's rich cultural heritage is displayed through music, dance, masquerades, durbars, both regattas, arts and cuisine. Art, a beautiful representation of nature, is seen as the magic of life. The interest in modern and contemporary arts has continued to increase dramatically, mirroring the exponential economic development of the African continent. As a visual language which artists use to express their artistic ideas about human experiences, the sector in Nigeria, experts say, has the biggest prospects of generating the needed second stream of income if properly funded.
Point one center in each state, what I call creative economy development and empowerment centers. That place, the unemployed will assemble. Those who are interested in Nollywood will assemble, the great artists will assemble, the budding stars will assemble, at the end of which government will now be able to determine the number of people interested in this area. Then private organizations, corporate groups, and interested individuals will now play their role. Tony Elumelu, for instance, is encouraging entrepreneurship development in arts and culture. For instance, it is already in Enugu, where they call the National Museum of Unity. All artists assemble there. It is only for government to give it a nod, and it becomes a very central place.
The interest in the art market has increased dramatically over the years. So it's one of those sectors that I believe as a nation we should pay a lot more emphasis on, because the market and the amount of people out there that are thirsty for our artwork, it's absolutely phenomenal. So it is something that we are happy, and I think it's something that we should not rest in our laurels. We should continuously promote.
We must project art as a basic, instrument, a basic tool that we can actually use to bring back some economies. Take, for instance, an artist that is already, late. His works will be sold for millions of dollars, and nobody is interested in looking at how come such monies are being made from an artist who is late, for instance. But I tell you that, if a certain percentage could be charged from artworks that will be taken from Nigeria here of such great artists to be sold outside by the government, you'll see that a lot of money will be coming in. Works are already selling for millions of dollars out there.
Only some time ago, Bonhams, one of London's auctioneers of modern and contemporary African art, displayed for auction 120 artworks by Africans, especially Nigerian artists, such as Yusuf Adebayo Grillo, Kolade Oshunowo, Ben Enwonwu, Yinka Shonibari, as well as one of Nigeria's renowned porters, Ladi Kwali. The Princess of Mali, a masterpiece by Ben Enwonwu, sold for £92,000, while Yusuf Adebayo Grillo's African Woman in Gele was sold for £80,500.
The government needs to seek for ways of increasing, like having more art galleries in Nigeria, because most of the revenue comes from sales of artwork by way of gallery ownership through auctions, and also improvements in art competition, because that also stimulates the other artists, the upcoming artists, to be able to, fully integrate in the art sector itself. Because when you encourage them, they become part of the system, and then they also begin to practice. And then, like currently, we just have one art gallery that is government owned. You can also establish like an art foundation. The art foundation will help to fund art projects, both nationally and internationally. And that way you'll be able to generate more funds and also help to boost the economy.
If you go to public buildings, for instance, today, what you see is just foreign artifacts, foreign artworks. Foreign artworks are not even original. But people who have money to build such hotels don't even see the need, to put in place at least 70% of what we call, local content. So that what hits the foreigner on the face when it lodges into your hotel, for instance, shouldn't be foreign artwork, should be something that has to do with Nigerian culture. These are ways that government can actually make, but government is not looking at that at all. But the policies have to be in place. Can you walk up to any hotel and tell them, say, please take all these foreign artwork down and put Nigerian, related artworks? You can't do that because there's no policy in place for that. But once the policies are in place, you see that the patronage will originally turn towards, the local content, and every artist will be employed.
There is opportunity, but that opportunity will only come if you are dedicated and disciplined enough to see through and meet that opportunity.
Government's effort at developing indigenous skills and promoting arts and craft right from the grassroots level saw the birth of the African Arts and Craft Expo, which also aims to recapture the essence of Nigeria's arts and craft industry and emphasize its wealth creation potential. About 40 kilometers to the Federal Capital City Center is Ushafa, a small Gbagi settlement in Buhari Area Council, where the late Mariam Babangida, wife of Nigeria's former military president Ibrahim Babangida, inaugurated the Ushafa Pottery Center in 1991. Although the center has provided employment opportunities for the women in that community, the market to sell their finished products is lacking. They also want government to intervene and provide modern facilities to the center to improve their work.
There's vibrancy before, actually more than now. The modernization that we are into now is in a way affecting the production and the sales of their products here. Things like plastic items, aluminium items, are competing, even overshadowing the use of our ports.
As government diversifies the economy, is a huge potential in the sector really being tapped? Has Nigeria been able to sell its arts and culture outside the country as the British, Chinese, French and German governments have? How does government get the practitioners in the sector to pay tax?
All right. Thank you. That report by Elizabeth sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Well, let me introduce our guest to you. I'd like to welcome to this program Mrs. Dayo Keshi, who's Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. Thanks for being with us here tonight.
Good evening. It's a pleasure.
Right. Also like to welcome to this program Adavi Abraham, an arts enthusiast and permanent secretary in the Kogi State Civil Service. Thanks for being here tonight.
Good evening. My pleasure being here.
Let me also welcome to this program Dr. Bakri Sheikh Lemu, National Vice President of the Society of Nigerian Artists. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cyril.
All right, as we always do, on Tuesdays we acquaint you with the procedure. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We encourage you to take advantage of them. However, for those who will be calling in, as we always say, when your call gets passed, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume so that we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo. All right? And of course, the best way to know your call has been passed through, you'd see your name on the screen. Once your name appears on screen, it means your call has been passed through to the studio. We advise that you do not waste time on greetings. Just go straight to the point, keep it brief so other people can get on the platform. Once again, welcome to Tuesday Live. And we'll start off from that question that Elizabeth posed at the end of our report there. Have we been able to sell our arts and culture outside the shores of Nigeria, just as some other countries have done. And let's begin on that premise with the Director General of the National Council of Arts and Culture, Mrs. Dayo Keshi.
I do believe that quite a number of arts and crafts, actually, and a number of creative industry products have actually been exported to various countries. It has influenced other countries. There's no doubt about that. But what we should be looking at is like packaging further to make it more acceptable as a commercial product. There is no doubt that Nigeria has more than enough within all this to be able to export its products. However, we still have to be sensitive to some basic things, such as sizes. It's only now during an AFAC we have what we call the colloquium aspect of it, and where we advise on basic things that have to be done for you to be able to sell your craft all over the world. But for now, I do believe that we are just scratching the surface. We still have a whole lot more to do, and we can send out a whole lot more than we have done so far.
All right, we'll come back to you and take more of that, but let's get the views of Adavi Abraham on this matter.
Thank you, Siri. I believe that we're just starting because there's still a whole lot of things to be done. For instance, in terms of our cultural exchange, it's still at the lowest ebb for now. How many of our cultural troops have access to foreign performances? And of course, if they are going for cultural exchange, you expect that they will go with their arts works that they could exhibit alongside their performances. But as at now, it's still very, very low at that level. But however, in terms of the packaging that Madam mentioned, I think visual artists too, like sculptors and what have you, should look critically at the sizes of the artwork, because you don't expect a foreigner to come, they want to buy art piece, you are giving them a full size artwork. Nobody would buy that, but something that is handy, because they would think about taking them the cost implication of freighting them back to their country and all that. I think at this level, but however, we are not doing badly because our art products, they're the best. So far, so good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're not doing badly. We'll return to that, but let's hear from Dr. Bakri Shiklimu.
Yeah, good day, Cyril. Actually, you see, as an artist, when people talk about we are not doing badly, what people do is that they see it and there is no parameter for measuring it. But when you look at the history of arts in Nigeria, the history of our culture, the history of the modern arts in Nigeria, the formal teaching of arts, and the efforts by the government, you know that we are really doing badly, just as the DG said. If you compare Nigeria with other countries like France, Alliance Française, Britain, and whatnot, etc., you see they go so much out of their way to showcase their arts and to make what is something that you call a sort of cultural imperialism, make you accept their arts, make you accept their culture so that they can sell it to you. You now look for them to buy it. But you look at the Nigerian scenario, the government doesn't go so much out of its way. And the mandates of the existing agency to promote arts needs to be reviewed, because their mandates is not up to date with what is required. In terms of individual efforts, a lot of people have got galleries that are shipping things out, etc. But most of these things, the success of this depends a lot on what the government has on the ground and how the government gives them the push. But without that push, individual effort cannot go so much. But when you have the government giving the push and the relevant laws and agency put in place, up to date with what is expected, you will see it, because arts still remain one of the easiest way to give people employment. Look at the history of, in those days when the British started. They started with the 3 R's, reading, arithmetic, and writing. Then they added a little C to it. The documentary was talked about Ladi Kwali. How did Ladi Kwali came up? After the 3 R's, they add 1 C. Michael Cardio came to teach craft formally. So Ladi Kwali and the rest were given, a value system was added to it. That from the native arts, they added a little international touch of firing and glazing. But today, where are we? Ladi Kwali's poultry is nowhere. Michael Cardio's poultry has been sold out. Is there in Niger State government? There is no more legacy of Ladi Kwali. So you will see that in some cases, if you look at what the colonial people have done with retrogressed, and why was it that the colonial people put that craft into it? Because it's the easiest way to get people employed, and it's the easiest way where the government can tax them. But here you will see there's a lot of things need to be done, and the existing government agency, they must give them certain mandate that should be up to date. That means you have to review the laws from time to time, like things like embellishment law, etc.
All right. There are so many aspects. We'll attempt to take them one by one. But in the background report we watched, we kept hearing talk about a policy not being in place, a deliberate step to. Tell us about the policy. What do we have right now, and is it adequate?
Well, actually, most of the policies we have operating now, like that of NCAC, for example, it has been in place for over 20 years. And we do know this is not unusual. We do know that when you set up an agency, it's guided by policies. What should happen is that as maybe from decade to decade or every 5 years, there's a policy review to suit the current trend of things in that area. So in fact, I would say that most of the agencies, including NCAC, we are now beginning to look at a situation where we are going to review our policy. It's even a meeting coming up next week to say, let's take a look at the policy and see how we can, for instance, convert this agency from being just promoting the living arts, which was relevant 30, 40 years ago, into saying, yeah, promote, but also generate some income to run both for that particular agency, but most importantly, to enable them achieve what they are set up to do. So yes, I do agree that there must definitely be reviews, and already we are working towards that. Because in NCAC, for example, we do have about 10 zonal offices. And these zonal offices were set up to say, look within your zone where you operate and see the best way to use arts to generate income. Now, that hasn't been so successful in the past because the emphasis wasn't on income generating. It was about showcasing the living arts, keeping it alive. He just spoke of Ushafa pottery and some other places like that, that without the intervention of government and its policies through the agencies, some of those places might be non-existent in the very near future. So to meet up with that, it only behoves us to start looking at the best ways to remain not only relevant as an agency, but to look at the current trend. Because every agency, even with all your zonal offices, you need some budgetary allocation to be able to achieve a number of things. Now, the truth of the matter is that you cannot get it 100% anymore. So if you can't get the kind of allocation you need, what do you then do? You start looking at ways of generating income and using the income positively to achieve that which you are set up to do.
Right, and so now we would say this is apt at this point in time. Nigeria has gone into recession, and it's looking everywhere, in every direction, to pull the economy out of the doldrums. And you hear experts tell you the creative industry, arts, culture, these are tools you can employ, and you would begin to generate, economic activity, the much needed employment, particularly of the youth, will be something that you can look to. So what is standing in the way of this?
Well,
DG just mentioned the issue of policy. To me, basically, I think we need a living policy that will empower the artist. If there's a living policy, the creative industry will thrive the more higher. For instance, as an artist, you walk to a town, you perform, or you bring your artwork, you carry out an exhibition, you make huge sales. Government is not coming to collect any tax from you. Of course, you smile back to the bank, good for the individual. But however, what impact is it going to play on the immediate environment and all that? What is the take back of government now that government needs all the available resources to get back on track? I think that issue of policy is one. Two, a conducive environment. If the artists, they don't have gallery, no studio where they could carry out their functions, and they don't have a gallery to exhibit their works, or the performing artists, no theater where they could rehearse their shows and all that, at the end of the day, perform. You say that there's an issue. Again, issue of security is very, very vital. It's key, because the creative mind often is 24 hours. Even when they are sleeping, they are thinking, they are imagining. This is something out of the ordinary. Therefore, somebody who is not secured, he won't be able to raise it well. So these are some of the vital areas I think is germane in this business of creativity. And again, the youth themselves. I remember the National Art Theatre. That's one good job that the Nollywood has done to Nigeria. In the 90s, if you're going to the National Art Theatre to go and watch movie, the area boys won't let you. In fact, you'll be afraid. But the Nollywood craftily brought in these people. Do you know that this your act of begging is very good? I have a movie. I just want it. From there, that was how they watched those negative. And I think, again, NDLA too should think of working with them. That was how these people started rehabilitating them one by one. They took them out of the street, particularly the Yoruba movie makers. I think if our government should empower the artists, definitely we'll get the right time.
We'll explore further film, Nollywood, and music, but I want us to dwell a little bit more on crafts, for instance, because you spoke about that, and it's easy for you to look at so many parts of Nigeria and see the kinds of artworks and the crafts that they have come up with over the years. It would seem that currently things are on the downside. Let's recall when Nigeria hosted Festac, which will be about 40 years pretty soon, right? Let's recall some of Nigeria's artifacts that were stolen and taken away, and put that against what we're doing in modern day Nigeria.
Cyril, if you don't mind, let's revisit the previous question you said, because it's very crucial to the artistic world. You see, first and foremost, the question is why this negligence of art and whatnot. First and foremost, before we come to this one, the Bini, Bronze, Punitive Expedition and whatnot, the Tada seated figures, etc. You see, there is an attitude and there is a wrong concept about what is arts. The general belief of what is art is fine arts. Can you draw me? Little do people know that the dress that the DG is wearing here is done by a textile designer. And it was done painstakingly with hand. When you tell a person that you are reading fine arts, he thinks that it is all skill of you can draw or you are making a sculpture. That's it. And that is why it's been stigmatized in some part of the country, that you are being seen as a sort of fetish covers and whatnot.
Right, because that is also an aspect of it. People have grown up, and then sometimes I have seen in some areas they say, "Look, this is idolatry," and okay.
You see, and that is why the attitude, the perception of arts has been a way of empowering people is so difficult for people to accept, because they are yet to realize what is art itself. Until when they look around them and they realize that these synergies that you see, these billboards are done by graphic artists. This book cover design is a work of a graphic artist, and what art is all about. Then that is when you know that when you teach a person to do this, you are empowering him. Take, for example, there is this Hakuna Matata concept in Kenya. A principal was about to retiring, an old teacher, and he was wondering what to retire to. You see, arts has one thing, they can teach you what is called mono skill. That means a mono intelligent, one-way thing that you learn and you can feed on it for your entire life. So he went and learned how to do screen printing only. And just for a phrase, Hakuna Matata, that means no problem, don't worry. And he bought as many T-shirts, or ready-made T-shirts as possible, and he kept on doing screen printing. Each one you do like this, cheap, you know, you've got your money, and he was able to live comfortably. He lived in a 3-bedroom flat with biogas and whatnot. So these are the things that arts can do to people. When you talk about crafts and whatnot, you go to some part of the world, you see ordinary biro like this, they put a little wood and make some carvings and whatnot, and people buy it. These are things that you teach people. But when you take a concept to governments, we, SNA, we've approached a lot of governments with it. We have a very good working relationship with her. But you go to some government, they look at it as when you say you want to make an arts and craft village to empower people, it looks as if you want to make a fetish place where you make this thing, because they don't know what it is all about. And for a concept to sell through in Nigeria, it's not how beautiful your concept is, but it is who you know. PTF could not have succeeded if Murtala Ali Salijo and the rest have forwarded it. They need General Buhari to forward it. People forget that. We've got, SNA has all the concept, and we are willing to work with the government to empower people to have arts and craft villages where children will be meaningfully trained and they work on their own, making T-shirts and whatnot, and so many things that we need around. Now coming back to the issue of these carvings of Benin and whatnot, you are coming to the issue of cultural heritage. When you talk about the cultural heritage of a country, is that there are certain things that you cannot bring back the clock hand. It's gone, it's gone. And sometimes what people give priority to are not really what is the priority, because Festac chose Benin bronze for one reason. It fitted the Festac. But the best of work of Sipedu still remain the Tada seated figure of Tada, Niger State. Read Ekoeyo, 2,000 Years of Nigerian History, endorsed by Murtala Ramat Mohamed. Is the best work of Sipedu in the Black Africa. You can't change it. So when you are going back and they are still around, they are not stolen. When you have your thing taken away by colonialists and whatnot, you don't get it back. Nothing goes to London Museum and comes out. So it is governmental.
So how do you prevent the others from going out? How can you use what you have to build on and generate something?
You see, the issue of arts in the present day world, there are three aspects that the government is here to look into. Money laundering through arts. We the artists, we know it. What are we saying money laundering? Tax evasion. For example, I don't want to pay tax. I go to an auctioning house. I buy a painting for $200 million. That's all. I don't have to pay tax. It's a painting, it's hanging in my room. The government is here to look at this. Why? Because they are here to approach we, the practitioners. The other issue is funding of nefarious things, drug, terrorism, and whatnot through arts. That is why you need to regulate this profession. For example, now, you buy a piece of Van Gogh or Rembrandt or any expensive painting. I give it to a terrorist. He sells it elsewhere and uses the money. I didn't give him cash. I bought this thing legitimately, auctioned it, and gave it out. These are all the things that government should look into. There are so many things involved in art that government is not looking at. The shipment of things under the name of exporting artifacts and whatnot, they are going about barking the wrong tree. When a young artist paints his work and he wants to go out looking for greener pastures, you see them asking him for this, that, and whatnot. But you see the real people cutting out the historical things are still doing it. And they are still doing it because there is market for it. When America went to Afghanistan and Iraq and whatnot, a lot of things from Iraqi museum vanished because they are priceless. When a piece of battery dated back, solar battery dated back to the BC, if you see it, of course, you will ask, any scientist will wonder, what is a solar battery doing in BC? It was in Baghdad Museum, and it is priceless. So it is time that the government should look inward and come and sit down with the artists. The other issue that we're having problem is that some of the agencies, there is synergy with the artists, but some there is none. For example, now you cannot talk about drugs without including Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Neither can you talk about laws without. Presently now we know that there is this type of law that they want to bring up that will empower youth. That is what we've been looking for and whatnot. And that means for certain percentage of certain embellishment act. Well, we learned that it is there, but we, the practitioners, we are yet to see it. And we hope we'll be contacted so that we'll put our own contribution so that it will be good for the individuals and the artists and the youth of this country. Thank you, Cyril.
So you were going to comment there.
Well, actually, I do appreciate where he's coming from.
Yes,
as he said, they are the actual practitioners. But nevertheless, we must be factual that investment in the creative industry has been very minimal.
Right.
For a nation like Nigeria. Because
now, why is it because we do not appreciate the potential of this industry?
Yes.
Or there are some other reasons, some other factors?
Well, let me say this, that the time for this to happen is now. Why? Because we don't have the oil as before. You see, it's the case of a rich man who has a successful business. Very few think of diversifying when they are, high on success.
Yeah.
So it's the smart one that uses the success to diversify. So for me, I think this is the time to genuinely look at the creative industry and see what we can do. We don't lack enough within the creative industry. I mean, Nollywood, the film industry, even our fashion industry has shown to a huge extent what they can do. But you can imagine if it becomes a deliberate policy, whereby he touched on it briefly. If you look at marketing products of the arts, for instance, like carvings and all these things, I will tell you one thing, and I don't know if he would agree with me.
I will.
Artists are not the best marketers of their products.
Yes.
I have worked extensively with them.
Yes.
While I was still in the ministry, I worked with them. And sometimes they just come up to you and say, Madam, don't you need these things? Okay, just take it for 5,000. I need money.
Yes.
And I know this work is worth 500,000. So you see, we have to get it straight if we really want the creative industry to become, an income generating at the level of national and international, to give Nigeria the strength. And how do we do that? We must put structures in place. He started talking about it. We must put structures in place. There must be something that will take care of wherever these products are being manufactured. So now you see, he mentioned that like the Ushafa pottery, they are not making much again. You know why? The artists cannot market their products. They can produce. So that is why I've always advocated that we have gotten to the point in Nigeria where the artists, those who are producing, the craftsmen, should remain in their location. Because in this country, Cyril, each local government has a little product. That's over 700 products. So we are not wanting in that area. What we now need is to empower the artists who produce to sell their wares. And that is why I say there should be more art vendors. You and I might not be producing beautiful works like they do, but that doesn't stop us from being vendors. It's an issue of buying and selling. I buy from you, I take it to the state or to the federal level, and that is where government comes in. Government has to create, in each state capital, I say, an arts and craft village. So that immediately gives us 36 plus FCT. And from that arts and craft village, let's federal at that level, together with the private sector. I believe it should be private sector. That way it will last longer. It won't be dependent on budgetary allocation. Where they have 3 major art malls in this country as start-offs. That is Lagos, Abuja, and maybe Kanu, to market artworks. A mall you walk into and you see everything from every part of Nigeria being sold in our arts and crafts. Then if you talk of festivals, right. You know, we just finished AFAC, the African Arts and Craft Festival. It's anchored by NCAC. And the idea is again to present an economic structure that enables the artists to sell their wares.
Yes.
So that is what we do through AFAC. But you can see that the artists themselves come and try to sell their wares. And a market like AFAC, what does it do? It gives them that opportunity of selling. Now, something interesting happened this year. Right. This year's carnival rolled into towards the end of AFAC. And you know what happened? All the arts and craftsmen just simply took their wares and moved to the carnival. For them, they're happy.
And that's why we talked initially. We talked about having a calendar where you can say, look,
very important.
Do we have such an arrangement? You can pick up and say, well, in the month of June, in Nigeria, this and this and this and this will happen. In the month of July, this festival will take place. In September, this is what will happen in December, so that you're targeting people. Do we have a calendar like that?
You see, Cyril.
I think I'll have to come in here. That for now, we're still battling with the issue of calendar in Nigeria. For instance, except the traditional festivals, the real thing, but the ones that is being managed by government, they are still wobbling, zigzag. NAFEST and Carnival. For instance, you say that they keep changing. You can't tell anybody.
The Abuja Carnival, for instance,
Carnival.
It was
we just finished, ended this night. It used to be around October, September. You can see the date was fixed, later shifted. The NAFEST too, there's no definite date. Again, why this? Is because of the lack of funding or lack of adequate funding by government. I want to digress a bit. When Madam spoke about the craft village for every state, it's a painful thing to say here that there's a state, 1 or 2 states in Nigeria without a theater. I say that as a similitude of a king without a palace or kingship paraphernalia. That's the way I say that. If a state is without a theater, as at tonight, then it's a big challenge for the arts to thrive in such a state. Look at stadium or stadia. Virtually every local government in Nigeria is having one form of stadium or stadia. Why is the arts so neglected? These are some of the issues. When you have artists who don't even have from one under a tree to the other or looking for they don't even, there's no place to preserve their work. That is still ongoing production process. Maybe like a carver who is just on, he leaves the job there because there's no proper preservation. A child will just go, not knowing the value, will even take it away, or a madman. So these are some of the realities that we still have that big problem. But however, the villages, they have their calendars, which is not changeable. I gave instance the Aringia Festival of Ikare in Ondo State. That one, they have their calendar. Their New Yam Festival in Ikare is 20th of June every year. It is fixed.
And it's fixed.
Right. Then you go to Ovio Sese in Ogori, Kogi State. It's this second Saturday after Christmas. It is feast. So they have this calendar.
Okay.
But, so
all right.
The list is endless.
Our phone lines are already open.
You see,
and some calls are coming in. We have a caller from Calabar. Oh well. Okay. All right. Just keep the calls coming through. Quite a number of calls have been coming in as we go on. But let's.
Okay.
People are eager to get on this topic.
You see the issue of festivals and whatnot. Let's call spade a spade. You see, most of these festivals that we are saying, they are government-funded festivals. They are not geared towards societal money generation. They are civil service, bureaucracy, and that's it.
Oh, well. Now that you speak of the subject, there are other places too where certain festivals, but you hardly hear of them.
When you have a festival whereby it is geared towards generating money, the plan and the way you go about it will be different. And the issue of arts, we are not saying government fund. Put in place a policy. That's all the government needs to do. Now, for example, these policies we are saying is that, you see, basically arts, you do the training, then you do the production, then you do the sales, then you do the value adding. Take, for example, the National Gallery of Arts. They are supposed to oversee principally about arts, artists, and whatnot in Nigeria. Madam has done a lot for us, and we thank her. She gave us a place to sell, to market our goods and whatnot, and most of the time we come to her, she has an open hand. But you wonder primarily some government agents that have been fixed principally to see to the welfare of arts and promote arts and whatnot. But when you go to them, they have their own shortcoming because they are there. But they haven't been funded to do that for us. When you go, maybe a young chap wants value added adding to his this thing or whatnot, there is another place that the government can fit in. You see, there is a policy in this loan scheme whereby you take a loan for craftsmen and whatnot. But nothing has been done much about it. We haven't heard anything about it.
All right, we'll come to that. Let's try and get this call from Adama. Mustafa, who's calling in from Adama. Hello, Mustafa, go ahead. Hello, Mustafa.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go on.
Hello.
Yes, Mustafa, we can hear you. Go on.
Hello. The line is not clear.
We can hear you. Your name is on the screen, so go on.
The line is not clear.
Oh dear. But we can hear you clearly. All right. Okay.
So we could, as I was saying, is the policy that matters most. When you have the policy in place, the other issue is the one that I started talking about. That you see, MQ Abiola once gave a Yoruba proverb that you cannot shave a person in absentia. Most of the things that people say they do for certain professional group, you have hitches. The bureaucrats feel that it has to be this. The practitioners, the people practicing the profession feel that, look, if you want it for us, it has to be this way. By the end of the day, the bureaucrats have it their own way because they're the one that the government recognized. In certain situations, you have a situation of people who are not willing. The first issue I said about that misconception, there is arts and craft villages. Katsina State has it and it's going on fine. But you go to certain states, you want to sell this idea of arts and craft to people. Like SNA has its own complete package, self-funding of arts and craft. How you will do it, you don't need any much money. We approach a certain state, being on the national TV, I don't want to mention it, And I was surprised that a legislative member of a certain state was telling us that my president, he sent us to, that they don't have money to open a new agency. We are not talking about an agency whereby you have technocrats and whatnot being paid. We are talking about training people, teaching young people means of livelihood, and not even young people alone, even retired people, even people who are still working, who want 1 or 2 ways to many. Remember, in those days, women used to do this clothes weaving and whatnot to pay for school fees, poetry and whatnot to pay for school fees and whatnot, trinkets and whatnot, beads. I could remember, as DJ had said, there is no local government, there is no major town in those days that you don't have this art and craft. If you don't revive them, how do you do it?
Okay, let's try and get in the calls. We have from Abia, Nana, is it? Yes, calling in from Abia. Go ahead. Oh, one of those nights.
Okay. I just want to record the issue of policy. That for now it's as if the policy on us or the creative industry is still zigzag, very wobbly. And until government takes it away from the bureaucracy, we will still be finding it so difficult to have a versatile arts in Nigeria. Because like Doctor mentioned, the practitioners and the civil servants or government agents, there's always that friction. Because the non-practitioner who is a government agent recognized by government will feel that he or she hosts the arts. So as such, they can do and undo, decide for you, even when they don't know their right from their left on the job. Okay. So those are issues. The crafts area, you go to Ogamnana in Adavi local government, there's this Ododo Waving center there that the Catholic Church employed women, and they were weaving the traditional archery, taking them abroad.
You see, that's what idea of weaving. But again, back to the phone. We'll get back to you in a moment. From Abuja here, we have a Kingsley. Let's see if Kingsley can get through. Kingsley, hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to contribute a little bit about the topic going on. Yeah, the thing is, our former leaders, they abandoned what they could have done for long, and they start pursuing the oil. I grew up in Kogi State, just like what that man said in Ogamnana. There's a lot of crap things here going on. But some of them say because they don't have the funds to do it. If you go in that place, he's talking about at Adavi local government, there's many talented people who got many things to do, and they wish they have the fund to be better than what they have to do. But the fund was not there. I can say I was among of the people. Government chairman, do other things right. They will tell us there is no fund. So, to me, I think it's time for the government to look down to the people, help them. We, the youth, we after who will ask us, what do you want to do? And when they ask us, what do we want to do, we will not tell them. They will not bring the fund to help us. And Nigeria will be better than now, you know. So I think the government should think about it, how to lay a fund, how to help the youth.
All right.
So that is what I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much, Kingsley. Thank you. Okay.
Right. You see, sir.
I do believe that this idea of saying help us, you know, we understand the need. But you see, the help really does not come from one source.
No.
It's a two-way thing. If a young person who is very creative comes out with his works, and then you say, oh, nobody cares or buys them, that is because you haven't approached the right market.
We don't have the skill.
What do I mean? Again, I repeat, in my opinion, government's role is to provide they say enabling environment, is to provide the economic infrastructure.
Yes.
What goes on from that point is really in the hands of those who require that structure. And that is why I spoke of the various festivals. You see, when a festival is going on, it's amazing the amount of economic activity at grassroots. You see, the thing about the creative industry is that they don't talk in billions. And these days, if you are not talking in billions, you are not strong. That is not true. For me, it's the creative industry, actually, that creates the real wealth.
Yes.
Why do I say so? You know, the average person engaged in some kind of project actually is at grassroots. And what do? They go ahead, they produce their pottery or they produce their beads at that level. But you see, they don't necessarily make the best salesmen for their products. And that is why I said there must be movement. We have to move into another bigger structure. And that is the states. And from the state, I'm using government engine now. The state government has that arts and craft village. And so these festivals can roll from one into the other. We don't lack that. So this income generation at grassroots can only be done through the creative industry.
All right, let's return to the phones briefly. We have Abdurazak calling in from Zamfara. Abdurazak, hello. Yes, Razak, hello.
Yeah, Mr. Eva, good evening to all.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? I call to, first of all, commend you on the effort to make on this very important topic. The topic, as we brought here, is a nice one. More especially, I would like to direct my own contribution towards culture.
Okay.
Culture is a very aspect that government needs to work on in boosting the economy of their country. So let us try and give a maximum, already use the word explanation on the value and the growth of the culture and boosting the economy cannot be overemphasized. So let me just encourage you to say more about the good that people at the grassroots level will understand how culture can contribute in boosting the economy for their country. I know many colleagues are on the line waiting for you, so let me hand off your good at this and continue to call from other colleagues or another perspective.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Well, I think, maybe if I should chip in.
Okay. All right.
I wanted to talk about the festival.
Okay,
you see,
the festivals.
Silently, there are festivals in place that doesn't need government funding.
Right.
And they generate microeconomy. Like in the north, we have Salah festivals. The small Salah, the Eid al-Fitr and the Eid al-Adhar. You have even Christmas festivals and whatnot, etc. In the eastern part of the country, you have so many young festivals coming to age and whatnot. In Taraba, you have so many of these things. But you see, really what the government need to do is to package these things and showcase it. The larger the audience, the more people come, the more the microeconomy, it will generate the microeconomy, what the DG is saying, people will buy things and whatnot, etc.
Do you promote these festivals outside? You know, because if I was to attend a festival in Nigeria, then I'd expect that I would know a little bit about when it holds, where it holds,
the best hotels around.
Exactly.
You see, that is what we are talking about the role of the government. You see, without the government, these are the supportive things that government to do. You see, there was one sad thing that I once come across in life. When I discovered that officially Fela hasn't sold 1 million Leo records. Officially Chinua Achebe hasn't sold 1 million of the books, These Things Fall Apart and whatnot. And the list goes on. The list goes on in the creative field. So that means there's something wrong.
Piracy does some damage to them.
Yes,
not
that's
necessarily
one.
piracy. Our attitudinal perception to things. People don't look at it as being a crime. And the piracy laws, the relevant laws are obsolete. And the government itself, just as he said, they've been blinded by petrol, this and they think that's the way out. Look at countries like Iran, selling Iranian rugs and carpet all over the world, making millions. Just rug. We have Kutigi mat. We have Zamfara hat and whatnot, which people are willing to wear as cowboy hat. Instead, we are buying the cowboy hat from Texas.
Sorry, I don't just want us to begin to blame the
Port Harcourt on the line. Emmanuel is calling in from Port Harcourt. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Please, I want to contribute on this topic.
Yes, go ahead.
What I want to contribute is this. Please, I don't know, either you, whenever you people are discussing something like this, I don't know, either it's reaching the federal government or it's not reaching them. Please, you people should try. Whatever you people discuss and whatever will contribute, you people should try and let the federal government, the president may say no. Because we are in trouble now. What we are seeing is trying. So let the federal government keep on trying to see. We should forget about oil, not oil every time. Everything you people are bringing is a good idea that will help us to youth. It's not by oil. Whenever we contribute something, you people should go and so that we'll put things in order, so that this country will be in peace. Because what is going on now, most especially in Kaduna State, in southern Kaduna, where I'm from, because things are getting wrong there. Let this peace, at least peace reign in this country. Put things in order, not by oil every time. So that's what I have to contribute. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
So what I was saying
Permit me to say something at this point.
Okay.
Cyril, I said that I don't want to say the total blame as that of government. The media, too. Yes, NTA is trying a lot, but at what percentage of the airspace devoted to arts and cultural activities or the cultural tourism? No, I have praised NTA, but how about other medias, down to the print medias? And if they carry out the review of arts, like they just concluded Carnival, what has been published, you will see what a paper carry tonight is what another newspaper will repeat tomorrow. Recycling. They are not approaching these issues from different angles, from the professional angles. These are some of the problems. The publicity is not enough. Again, the arts and craft, or the cultural tourism, so to say, are yet to be tapped at all. Take for example, in Kogi State, we have a natural earth bridge, which I don't think is known to the world. Like the Egunu Koko, the man who saw tomorrow in Ajakuta. The mud house was there for years. Some of us were shouting, writing in the local media, but it fell on deaf ears. The first primary school in northern Nigeria, the first general hospital in northern Nigeria, and so on and so forth. If you go there today, they are the shadow of themselves. Kudos to the present government that is now taking cultural tourism as a real business. This is why we have this privilege of being here tonight. You go to Taraba, the Soko of the Taraba, where they still have everything dated to the BC. The Oshun Shobo Grove, which Susan Winger helped us, but until recently, the multinationals, their effects are not being felt. That's the truth. In the just concluded Carnival 2, we know of UBA, and probably one of the media houses, the electronic medias that are partnered with them. I think these are some of the basic areas that needs to be explored if we must move ahead.
I believe.
And Cyril, before we leave this area, I also think that, we've gotten to that point, for the development of arts in Nigeria, we have to now focus on schools.
Right.
We have to go into those schools so that our children are more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I thank you for for a program like this. But guess what time this is? Most of those children are already in bed. And sometimes we are talking over their heads. We have to let them start seeing that to devote yourself to the arts is not a thing of shame. When we were growing up, it was made that way. You can't tell your parents you are an artist. Arts in what? You had to be a doctor, a lawyer, and all that. But things have changed. The dynamics have all changed. So this attitudinal change towards the arts and creativity generally must even start right from the bottom up. That's from our children.
It's actually
and that is why NCAC actually, in every program, we bring in a children's component.
It's actually worse.
Okay.
You see, people talk about things have changed. It's getting worse. Let me give you a very good example. In education, in the educational aspect, I was part of the board that went for this curriculum something. In Nigeria, not any other part of the world, just Nigeria, they have what they call creative and cultural creative and cultural arts education. And they're offering it in secondary school. And with your professorship in fine arts, you can't teach it. Why? Because it's like saying a subject called geobiophysics. There is music component in it.
Right.
There is theater arts, drama, fine arts, applied arts, all in it. And they expect an arts teacher to teach it. And the synopsis in the university system is fine and applied arts.
Yeah.
I don't know anything called music.
Right.
So now a Ministry of
to the
Education, this thing is going on.
arts.
So you see, that is why we say art is deteriorating.
Okay.
Do you know where that problem lies? Because anytime you come to a thing, the policy makers do not contact the people on the ground.
All right.
One person does it all.
We will explore that further, but at this point we want to take a short break. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly after these messages.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, so plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. Even as the break was on, we still had so many ideas coming up on how to harness the potential in the creative industry, particularly art and culture, to help pull Nigeria out of this economic recession. So we'll be looking at that, how we can package this so that you can earn money and create employment for Nigerians. Just before the break, a new angle was introduced to this. We have to go back to the schools. We started off with Mrs. Keshi, and Dr. Shekuli picked it up from that place, that we need to start. If we're looking at using the creative industry, art and culture, to generate revenue, we must even begin to bring it back to the school system, to the educational system, and so people can get more aware of what great potential it has.
Yeah. Yes, as I was saying, when you start with the school, we have to start with the school system, because a subject or a field is being learned formally. But when you start by disintegrating the field itself, by somebody, unknown person, not an authority in the field, and not an artist, not a practitioner, not a prof, nothing. Maybe he's close to the people in authority and decide to sell idea of a subject called creative and cultural education, having music, whatnot, and expecting one arts teacher to teach it. We failed already. Now, there was this good intention by NECO. Very, very laudable attempt by NECO. What NECO did is that they looked at a child, that a child needs certain things. After dropping out, for example, from secondary school, he needs certain things to keep his life moving. So it was a very, very excellent concept, because one thing we do in arts is that if you want to empower a person, you break it down to such a stage that you can teach a person. Like me, I've taught from all levels, from university to primary level. If you bring a child and you want the child to be taught something for skill, we'll look at it. What is it that you can easily teach this child to make a living with? So NECO broke down some subjects they call it trade subjects.
Right.
Printing and paper craft, photography and whatnot. But the mistake the schools are making is that they think these trade subjects are meant to replace the main fine arts. So they are registering for the trade subjects and they are not registering for the core subject. Like now, a child will take animal husbandry and he will not take biology or agric, thinking that. So you see, that is why I said there is a lot of work to be done, and we have to start from somewhere.
All right. Now, the basic issue now is, how do you now put all of this together, package it, and make sure that it creates employment and it can generate income? The other time he talked about a village where weaving was going on and people had the skills and it employed so many youths, but that is not happening anymore.
Yeah. I think, like Dr. mentioned, we need to go back to the root, the primary, the basic now. One, I remember my primary days that every Thursday used to be a craft day, whereby you are taught the art of molding using clay and all that. You do basket, calabash, brooms, you even carve.
Right.
That is gone. So we need to go back to that. Right. Then painting, drawing, and so on and so forth. How to do it yourself, practically. Like when we were youth, we did the painting of our rooms without hiring any painter. Of course, it was based on this. So if they are taught from primary school, you will discover some children that the talent tilted towards the arts. You will not be forcing them that go and read medicine or go for banking and finance. No. You will see that they will excel. The hand-woven cloth or the pottery still in a place called Ihima, but that one is almost forgotten because nobody ever have fridge.
Okay, you probably cannot produce that in commercial quantity.
Yes, not only that. Adverts. It's not happening. Look at that adverts. The woman came with the pot with chilled water. The woman just saw it. This infested with germs and what have you when you have a refrigerator. Again, that is where our government should look into. We are giving priority to foreign culture and products than the real thing. And that's equally affecting her.
Okay, let's get this call from Lagos. Fortune calling in from Lagos. Hello, Fortune. Oh dear, Fortune is off the line.
So, in terms of the marketing, again, when they are taught by masters, you go to Abegi at the National Arts Theatre, you see various groups that are taken off the street. They are there under a master. They are able to do little craft work that they are living on. Some of them are training themselves.
Okay. So, but again, there's a whole lot of informal trade that's going on in art and crafts.
Yes.
And there's no statistics. You can, I mean, it's I do my thing and at a small level, it's not captured.
Yes.
But that also is some form of economic activity. So how can you now put all this together and have a proper package? You talked about artists not being the best salesmen. Is it part of what they say most artists are eccentric and...
I disagree. The reason is this.
Okay.
The artist, someone who is hungry, a hungry man.
No.
No, just a minute, sir. Let me land first.
Okay.
I know what I'm saying. An artist, an upcoming artist who has no capital.
No, I think you are approaching it from a wrong perspective.
How?
She got it right.
Okay.
There is one thing. I remember in my university days, you see people come to the studio and they'll be picking things that we've discarded because they are thrilled. They cannot imagine this thing being thrown away. But we who did the thing that we discarded is that we discarded it not because we have no respect for the effort, but we are yet to get the expression we wanted. We felt this is not the inner expression that I wanted, so to hell with it. So such type of thing, for another person, it's beautiful, it's marvelous. And there's another thing, skills. You don't have monopoly of skill. Buying and selling is not the skill of an artist. Worldwide, you look at London, Sotheby's and whatnot, they are not artists. Auction houses, they are not artists. What is their skill? Their skill is how to make money. It's just like football. The footballers are the ones that play the ball, but you don't necessarily have to have a footballer who is the person who is the manager. The manager may have the skill of how to, like musician too.
Okay.
The promoter may not be a musician.
Okay,
but
just one moment. Let's try to get this call from Kwara. Abdurazak calling in from Kwara State. Hello. Hello, Abdurazak. Are you with us? Oh dear.
You continue.
Hello, good evening. Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go on.
Hello.
Hello, Abdurazak.
Hello. Hello.
Well,
we've lost him.
Well, as we say, just look on your screen. Your name appears, it means your call has been taken. Just go ahead. People seem to forget that. The name was on the screen. And, well, just keep the calls coming through.
So it's not that the artists are selling it because they are hungry people. No, it's not so. It's the issue of skill. Now, the issue of the employment that you are saying.
All right, employment, and then the question of value addition. Some would say, well, we have not added any value to the things we've done. We're still at that rudimentary stage, and the world has moved on. If I want to purchase a piece of artwork, there are certain things I'm looking out for.
Solid.
All right, if this thing is made of clay, then it needs to have something.
I think Doctor got me wrong too. You see, I was trying to explain a point which you didn't. You took it off from.
I'm sorry.
Now, I said, Madam said that they do sell their product cheaply, and I was trying to give reasons. One was the issue of maybe capital. The artist who is having little resources at his disposal would not love to tie down that capital. That's one. Two, like those of them that are not in the state capitals where they can easily market their products, piling them up means even going bankrupt.
No, what she's saying is the issue of exposure.
Yes.
You see, if you don't know the value of what you have, you wouldn't know how to sell it because you're not an expert in the field. For example, if a person doesn't know the current arts market, take a tailor, for example. A tailor sew your clothes, no any extra work or whatnot, etc. in the village, just machine work, nothing more. He will say 70 naira. Sorry, 700 naira maybe at most. But if he should move to a bigger town and you know that they will buy this in 3,000, of course he will take the 3,000. That is what he's saying. These big international marketers are taking it out of the shores of Nigeria to where it has value. But you are not aware, you the artist.
Let's quickly try this from Jos. Sunday from Jos. Hello, Sunday. Sunday from Jos, are you with us?
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Sunday.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. About art, the DJ seated there, she spoke about the lost glory of art, which is true. When we were in primary school then, we look at our teachers trying to put us through. They were like, okay, come and do something creative with your hands. What can you do? But the children of the well-to-do class, if I may put it that way, so they were they will go to the market and buy something and bring it to the school, which is not proper. It is not encouraging. Now that is where I see the loss, as in the culture, the art, getting the culture of creativity is getting backwardness in Nigerian economy in terms of art, if we are talking about art precisely. Now, what can we do to promote art in this country? Promoting art, I think government has to do something as in to create an enable playing ground so that what I'm trying to say here is about the issue of marketing. You have to buy from these producers so that at least you encourage them, encouraging them so that they will excel. Once if you buy from them, they will be motivated to do more. And talking about the young people. If they cannot get the buyer from them, they will relax. So what are we doing? What is the government doing about this thing? Create an enabling playing ground for them to excel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sandy. All right.
You see, Cyril, I want to say this about the creative industry. I know generally we'll say, what is government doing? But really, you see, in this particular industry, it's the creative artists themselves that will do much more.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is that creative artist has no age barriers. Let's think of it. A person like Michael Jackson started earning in the millions at the age of 5. And it was in dollars, remember? So what am I saying? And what was he singing? ABC, you know?
1, 2,
but
3.
it became a hit. So, and a lot of money. The same thing is happening in our schools. We must catch them young. We must make this industry attractive to the young, because therein lies the future of young people in this country. Gone are the days when people like us, I'm sure you and I were recruited right from the university, even before I graduated. But we don't have that anymore. And the situation is not going to change backwards. You know, it tends to move forward. So having said so, I think we have to look at the creative industry as an income generating industry that cuts across all ages. It knows no barrier of Western education. What you need to know is that creative art. And then you start practicing, and where they say, oh, what is government doing? Yes, government gives the enabling environment. They give the policies. Like I said, NCAC's policies even under review to say become more income generating. Your zonal offices should be able to look at what is within that zone, market it, generate income, but under a structured way that there is checks and balances.
Okay.
But the truth too, we must emphasize at this gathering, if nothing, is that the way forward in Nigeria today is the creative industry.
Right. Basic. Enugu is where we go to next. Chris is on the line from Enugu. Hello, Chris. Are you with us?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I'm Chris from Enugu.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me?
Yes,
Hello?
yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, you can see me nodding.
Hello?
At least, you know, your name is on the screen. I'm nodding. Yes,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
hear
yeah.
you. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm hearing you very well. Yes. Yeah. You know, yes, I'm speaking on. Yes, yeah, yes. Now, this art has to do with creative ideology. Are you hearing me? And those people in the rural area need to be empowered. You cannot, if you say that we are there, nobody will know that you are there. Now, you have to diversify. You don't have to base purely on oil. You have to have what is called mini festival of arts and culture, mini festival in local government at the first quarter of the year, maybe. Then the second quarter at the state. Then the last quarter we do at Abuja. And I would like if government will look down and ensure that those people who are in the rural areas are empowered and give access food so that they can come to the urban and they see whatever they produce. They should be given room to see their product at the international fairs where foreigners will come and look at what they have produced. Because countries can boast of what they have, where they have cooperative advantage. So the foreigners may cherish whatever they have produced and demand for that. Let us not only depend on oil. it will help to create more job employment, and the development this will be there. Job creation and development will be there. Thank you very much, and I still remain Chris for the
Okay, right. Thank you, Chris. All right.
Chris just mentioned the issue of festivals in local government as well as state and national. I think let's just take the carnival again, or NAFEST. You see, it has a natural way of building market around itself. You just observe naturally as if it is what's it called? As if there's it's a big market, so to speak.
Yeah.
Exhibition of its own. The food seller will come, open a natural tent, uninvited. The clothes seller, the restaurant seller, the palm wine tapper will come to exhibit his palm wine, and so on and so forth. A mini market is going along the street. The pure water seller is there making his or her money, and they are rushing back because the body needs the water, and so on and so forth. You see that the chain. Okay.
Now let's introduce this aspect. Do we appreciate our own artworks and pieces? You used an example which I'm interested in. You said even with the fabrics in the textile industry, the artist creates the designs. And sometimes we have a situation where a country that will remain nameless because of national television pushes its products into this country. We do have people who are in this industry here, the tailoring business, but you find that the kind of value they are, we don't get it. And so people say, look, they prefer to take what comes from another country because we have not been able to put some finesse into what we produce. Is that valid?
You see, Cyril, three things are involved in that. First and foremost, you don't impose aesthetics on a person. Every person, every culture, every society has its own taste.
But aesthetics is a part of art as well.
It's part of us, that is it. Second thing, you see, there is no free meal. These countries that are bringing things to us and you are accepting it, it wasn't a one-day walk. A lot of things have been put into it. Take for example, that typical example that I gave. A friend of mine who was in Loughborough University in Britain, there was one day that they were, wear your native dress. Then some Africans were wearing this Mexican cap or this cowboy cap. Then the people were telling them that this one is made in so, it's not African. But before you know it, you've accepted it. Look at the heads of a lot of people in Nigeria. They are wearing the Malaysian caps. These things are not Nigeria. So you see, sometimes there is this appeal of aesthetics, which you cannot stop, quite all right. The only way you can stop it is through deliberate effort to bring out that consciousness for your people. You see, the third aspect that is there is that when you talk about arts and whatnot, as I said earlier, people just always focus on fine arts. But the two major components of arts, visual arts, is fine and applied arts. Applied arts is aesthetics plus functionality. For example, this piece of glass, this is not arts because it's going through marketing, industrial process and whatnot. But when you look at ceramic pieces, the principal purpose of the ceramic pieces is functionality. Then you add taste of arts in it. What used to happen in most of these our local industries, that they don't add value to it.
Right.
There is that one. For example, let me give you an example is myself in my own locality. When I was a child, I used to see this glass work of snake in my town. Now, as an adult, that glass work of snake is still there. Who needs a snake, for goodness sake?
Exactly.
So you see, the artists themselves, the craftsmen themselves must change.
Move. Okay, I'll just ask you to pause a while. I'll return to that. We have Hafiz on the line from Kwara. Hello, Hafiz. Oh dear, Hafiz, your TV volume is so high I can hear the hurl back from here. Oh dear.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Turn
evening.
down
My
the
name
volume
is
of your
Hafiz
TV.
Kwara.
Turn down the volume of your
I
TV.
just want to, yes, I'm with you. Let me give the following. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I want to just make a comment. I agree with all the girls in the house there. What is happening in Nigeria now, we need to look at it as if where Nigeria is going to now, pertaining to economic sector. So we need to reform and come back.
Oh dear. We lost the call. Well,
So as I was saying,
yes. So
you see,
the artists themselves,
the
should
artists
think out
themselves,
of
the
box.
craftsmen themselves should think of something up to the task that will sell in the present day world. Take for example, even the clothing we are wearing, and you have to cash in on the opportunity. Take for example, the clothing we are wearing changed over a long period of time. There was these clothes that they were calling way Tazarchi. It used to be Malian dress, Senegalese dress this thing. Now Nigerians have made it their own and they've added value onto it. So there is no, in us they'll tell you that nothing is static.
It's not, it's dynamic.
It's dynamic.
It's
Unfortunately, there was a time that SNA brought a proposal that this type of local arts and craft centers will add value to it, will tell them, like you go to back to the brass work, for example, of my own state. You see, up till now, they are using nail to write things. You have so many gadgets that you can take and make inscription, and that's it. You can even teach them the lettering, graphics. Right. But you see, these are the type of things that government steps in, or NGO, or maybe some big company steps in to add value to this, or train them from time to time, etc. And that is what other countries do.
Okay. We have from Abuja here Prosper calling in. Hello, Prosper.
Hello.
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 Yes, Prosper, go ahead.
Okay. I want to, my contribution is going to be very brief because I see that the program has gone far in. I see a little bit digression in your discussion here. As a matter of fact, when you say how art and culture can actually, put money on the table, change the economy for both government and, of course, Nigeria as a country, I want to look, far and wide, perhaps wider than the scope right now. Let's look at the policies, like DG Kechi, rightly said, the appropriate policies, the appropriate laws put in place so that we can actually have, enabling environment. Now, take for instance, sometime around 2009, 2008, 2009 in Akwa Ibom, the state government built a hotel which they call the Meridian, if you are used to, Akwa Ibom. Now, it was a four-star hotel, very big hotel. And they already had the plan that they were going to import some artworks from China. And the artists in Akwa Ibom got wind of that. And they swept, they swooped into the government house and said, look, it can't happen. We are here and we don't have jobs doing, and you want to go and give our work, our jobs to Chinese people. And they said, okay, let's have the deal. How much were you going to spend on that? They said, okay, we are going to spend about 100 million. They brought the whole thing down and they looked at what they were going to spend to import the art. So they almost 100 million. And I called the artist, the Society of Nigerian Artists chairman, can you handle this? They said, why not? And of course, they gave them the job. They went to Lagos, they went far and wide all over the whole place to get artworks from different artists. They commissioned artists and they were painting day and night. And they churned out all the work for that period, sir. All the artists in Akwa Ibom, they were employed. They were gainfully employed. They bought cars. They even enriched those who worked under them. You see, the artists, they work like a kind of nucleus. When you work as a studio artist, there are other studio hands below you, working under you. The moment jobs like that come, you see that you not only empower yourself, you also empower them. And you're talking of job creation. Now, let me tell you, these are the kind of policies you need to put in place. Take, for instance, if we have something we call art embellishment fund. Art embellishment fund, and we say, okay, every public building, so long there's going to be, a public building, let's use this as a tool to actually promote the Nigerian negative, that image that's already negative. Let's use art to promote it. For that reason, every public building will have at least, to the cost of that public building, 5% of it dedicated for art embellishment on that same building. And now all the public buildings, you have to give at least 5% of that cost to the artist. Take, for instance, the PTDF building that is right behind you here in your office. If a building like that costs almost 12.5 billion naira, 5% of that is about 600 million. And if you put that money to employ artists, you know the number of artists that will be gainfully employed by such money. And I tell you, what about all the other public buildings that you have in Abuja, for instance, and Lagos, and all over the place, all these big banks? 5% of that will go for an endowment fund, which will be managed by the artists for the government. And at the end of the day, the artists will even pay tax from such money. And I tell you, when you do that, it's a vicious circle. It affects different people, in different segments. Those who will produce films, they will make their money. The sculptors will make their money. The people doing stretchers, they will make their money. And of course, transporters will make their money. It goes round. That is the way you can actually generate, money around the economy with art. Then apart from that, let's take, for instance, the Nigerian example I gave to you. If you go around all the hotels in Abuja today, all the works you see are just fake artworks from China or whatever country they bring them from. It's pathetic that a Chinese man comes to your hotel and he lodges in the room, and what he's looking at on the wall is Chinese artworks, Chinese fake artworks that are produced by fake Chinese artists, not even the real artworks. What is shame? If you go to China, are you telling me you will be seeing Nigerian artworks in a Chinese hotel? Look at the way they have been able to preach their culture. Government need to do more. All these agencies need to be sponsored very well. Look, listen, when I went to Art Expo New York, you will see so many artists, so many countries have renting a whole pavilion and putting the artwork of their country throughout the whole pavilion. They are selling their culture. UK does it. America does it. Yes, then, of course, China, they do it. Korea, they do it. Look at the means they are using. Okay, like Dr. Sheikh, my great vice president, said, if you look at what is happening today, look at Goethe Institute. It's preaching the culture of the Germans. Look at Alliance Française, preaching the culture of the French. Look at what we call British Council. It's all over the whole world, preaching the culture of the British. What institutions do we have as a country, Nigeria? What institutions do we have like that all over the whole world? We don't have such cultural institutions. Those are things that need to be, inculcated in the mission, system, so that we use that to promote art, promote your culture. Okay. By so doing, a lot of people will start looking at your art and referencing it like it's already done in the outside world. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me not take too much of your time.
Thank you very much for that very brief. Right, Prosper. That was brief indeed. Right. Okay. Well, you heard the man. He reeled out a number of places, and the question is, do we have a corresponding promotion of our culture in other lands through any agency or through yours, for instance?
Well, I do know that some time back in the ministry, the main Ministry of Information and Culture, there was a program called The Embellishment of Nigerian Missions Abroad. I actually anchored that program at some point in my working career in the ministry. And what we aimed at doing was saying, let us take arts and crafts, paintings, sculptures, all the various media. We packaged it and we moved it to all the Nigerian embassies. The idea then was that the first port of call in any country is the Nigerian embassy or the embassy of that country. And we actually succeeded in embellishing, I think, well over half of our missions abroad. And what that did, it had a two-pronged effect. Number one, we took down all the Nigerian paintings and artworks. We substituted the works from Nigeria. And that's the way we exposed quite a number of your members. I don't know if you recall that time. Because I always made sure there was a short note at the back talking about who the author is. And I will put the name, I'll put the phone number, and even the email for those who had before we put it in the missions. And when visitors come in, they start experiencing Nigeria right from the reception. And, you know, I thought it was a very effective way to move Nigeria into all the space already occupied by our embassies anyway. So what we have done is also promote the arts through that medium. Indeed, let's be truthful about one thing. In order to actually get the best from any industry, there must be massive investment. All we are saying in the creative industry is that it might not be in the multi-billions, but there must be a conscious investment into the industry in order that, you know, we could expand on what the industry stands for. Because sometimes we all assume that everybody knows what we are talking about. It's not really so. It's amazing that, you know, my husband, you know quite well, you know, said to me, thank God I'm married to you, because I have never looked at the arts industry the way you describe it to me. And he is quite learned, as you well know. But the truth of the matter is that we haven't really taken this industry seriously. Nollywood did it through their own determination. Yes, government later supported. All we are saying now is we don't have to go through that long route. As he has said, basic policies should be put in place. But even while we are doing that, right from schools, I keep going back to the children, right from schools, there must be some kind of deliberate policy that makes it as integral as studying the sciences was at one point in our history. So that way a child starts earning from when he's even in primary school. Why not? If he has the gift, just guide him and let him start earning his own money, even to pay his fees, if possible. Because you see, one thing we don't realize in a country like Nigeria, that you see in our diversity, therein lies our strength. Therein lies the huge heritage we have in this country. So until we begin to see it as strength, until we begin to safeguard it, promote it, project it, and make it an icon of who we are and what we are, even to the world, you know, we will not get the kind of full effect that the creative industries can actually give to this great nation of ours. So what we try to do in NCAC, I repeat, is to provide this structure. You see, government cannot be the one to provide the structure and then implement everything. No. That way it will not live long enough as we want. So indeed, government has really, in its own little way, at least through NCAC, you know, we've invested. As I said, he spoke of NAFEST, we anchored that. But you see, even in all these festivals, what do? We make sure that we are having different events running that showcases products of our creative industry. To surprise you to know, have you ever watched traditional wrestling, Cyril?
Oh, sure.
Yes. Oh, you have?
Oh, well,
you see?
Well, he knows that there's traditional wrestling in my place.
Oh, there you are. No wonder. You know, because when I heard traditional wrestling, you know, as DG, people assume you know everything. It's not true. You learn as you go along, and a good one tries to learn fast.
Along the way, yes.
So I went, and that was what I first went to watch. So I didn't want to ask anyone. And it's interesting, the laws that govern that particular sport.
Yes.
And you know what I'm thinking? That as we go along, some of these little sports should be made into national sports. We have huge festivals. You have the Durbar, you have masquerades. We have everything in the ingredient to cook this beautiful soup. This is the time And that is what we are talking about today, the creative industry.
In fact, I was going to ask him, because every time I've had the opportunity to be out of these shows, people ask of a particular masquerade. And he would know a lot about it, because Dakugwea.
Yes, Dakugwea.
Yeah, so what's happened to people want to know more about that?
You know, there is one thing that one of the strongest forces on earth still remained metaphysical, religion, and they will tell you that is the gender thing. It's very strong instinct, strong whatnot. There are a lot of things that, even in arts, you will see that some attitude towards arts is from religion.
Yes.
In 313, when Emperor Constantine was declaring that arts can do to the illiterate what writing can do to the illiterate, the Eastern Orthodox said, no, we won't have paintings. They're graven images and whatnot. Likewise in Islam too. Right. So the Ndakugwea thing is that the procedure of this masquerade.
Walking a thin line between...
because it is very, very traditional.
Right.
And you will see sometimes the things that they need, instead of just coming inside the masquerade, I mean, the clothes and whatnot, they go through some sacrificial things, whatnot, etc., which is against Islam and Christianity.
Creating the myth.
Right.
It's creating the myth.
Yes, so they think.
So these also have affected, religion also to some extent is affected.
Oh, yes. It has made it unacceptable.
Well, I think...
but other things have replaced it anyway.
Right.
And then you have the acceptable things like Daba, Hawan Daushi, and whatnot. And so it's changing.
I think the artists too, they want to equally preserve that knowledge. They don't just want to throw it open to the people. Hence the idea of introduction of...
Sorry, there was two issues that you brought up.
Okay.
The embellishment law and this thing. You see, actually, and she brought it up in the issue of the cultural... the country we have in our embassies, what they call the cultural attaches. You see them in other foreign embassies here, they are giving invitations, inviting people, promoting their culture, telling you about the ceremonies and whatnot, etc. I think foreign affairs, that aspect can be best handled in between Ministry of Information, Culture and Foreign Affairs. In a nutshell, it can be done in a bigger scale. The issue of the Embellishment Act that he said, this thing got to the National Assembly and it was thrown out. It was thrown out on many grounds. First and foremost, there was no synergy between the artists and the ministry, the agency that is supposed to showcase this issue. You see, when you, just as I said earlier, you can't shave a person in his absentia. I am the person that will do this artwork, but I don't have the control over it. For example, now you say there is a building there, it cost the Yaradua building, it cost the federal government so billion, and there's the embellishment at so percent of it will be used, whatnot. Who determine who get the contract? So you see, the artists feel that the professional body should have a lot of saying, not just the agency.
What is the role of the private sector in this?
The role of
have the support from the private sector.
The private sector, they have that constitutional role to give a lot of supportive things, social support and whatnot is there. But who will make them do it? I remember there was a time that a road, Mechanic Village Road in Mina, cut off due to erosion. And people were clamoring the government, whatnot. One young engineer picked up the law and approached Julius Berger and whatnot, etc. That is part of what is required of them. It's part of the law that social service and whatnot. In those days when they were doing sanitation, all these companies and whatnot had to bring out their tippers and whatnot to assist. So it's who will make them follow the role.
All right. There's a question I've been wanting to put to Adavi Abraham, and it's basic, and it's that do we, as a people, appreciate art? We described you as an art enthusiast. As a people, do we really appreciate artworks? And because I say this a few times, I've seen people exhibit their works, and
the answer is yes.
Right.
One, if the drummer is beating his drum, in the background. You are moved by the rhythm. Naturally, consciously or unconsciously, you are dancing to that rhythm. You hear some scintillating songs, even where you don't know the meaning of the lyrics. You are thrilled. You are inspired. You feel like dancing. That's that. The other arts, the fine and applied arts,
yes,
which doctor belongs to. You when you see a piece of
look at his dressing. Look at his cap.
Look at that. It's a beautiful, creative word. Look at Madame.
We all appreciate art. Look at Madame.
There.
Even though you don't know it, you're appreciating it.
Let me tell you a story here. There's this girl who came from Delta to serve with me. At the end of the day, she came first in directing a drama and dance during their NYSC days. And I spoke with the parents, they allowed her, she remained. When we couldn't get her a job, I made her to go. Today she's living very well on beats and training kids around secondary schools in arts, in Kogi State to be precise. Today she's gone for her master's, she's finished, and she's training her younger one. She's living well. A young girl. So, you see, the people appreciate it. Okay, you look at what doctor is wearing here. It's a work of art. Look at this one too. Simple, yet it's still a work of art. I paid for it. Cost a price. So, daily, we appreciate it. The bags we purchase. Today, if you go to Ogun stand, you see the batik. They use it to design bags, shoes, and whatever. People were busy picking. The hand-woven cloth. 1994, Calabar, Nafes. They came first. It was used in designing Nigerian military wares. You need to see it. But what is our government doing? Today, we spend billions to import foreign materials.
All right. Well, it's about this time we'll wind down, so we'll just take your closing comments and we'll say to you, Dr. Sheikh Limu, on a final note on this program, how do we chart a course moving forward?
Well, we will start first and foremost. What is worth doing fine. It's good that the government agencies and the professionals should sit down and have the interests of the country at heart, so that they will come with a very good policy, very amicable, that will sell people through. It's just like the building industry. The architect doesn't take it all. You consult this, you consult that. I think that's the way forward.
All right, Adab Abraham.
There should be a stronger synergy between the government at different levels and the practitioners. That way, again, our tourism aspect, we didn't really...
Yes, because that was deliberate. We said we would stick to art this time around, because it's really a very wide subject.
Very
we have music and
dance, and even cuisine.
We can capture all that in one program. So we said, let's look at art.
Thank you.
Right.
I think we are moving. We have started, and I want to believe that we'll be there. Thank you.
And finally, for Mrs. Dayo Keshi.
Let me just give this part in short, please. The creative industries create jobs. It contributes to the overall well-being of communities, individuals, and improves the quality of lives. It makes it possible for government to achieve policy of inclusion and sustainable development. That is key.
All right. Well, and it is on that bright note we'll have to round off this program. As I always say, no one program can take care of all the issues on any topic. So we'll leave it for now. Some other time we'll come back and revisit this issue. We hope we'll have you join us again and explore how this can contribute to developing the Nigerian nation. And I would like to say a big thank you to all of you. Mrs. Dayo Keshi, Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We also say a big thank you to Adavi Abraham, Arts enthusiast and Permanent Secretary, Kogi State Civil Service. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for Dr. Bakri Sheikh Lemu, National Vice President, Society of Nigerian Artists. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That's our program. Thank you for being part of it. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.